Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a final review of the ELEGOO Jupiter. So I bought this through their Kickstarter, where I got this printer with the extra 2 VETs. Now I had a few months to test it out, and I think I have some things that I want to talk about. First, let's start with the negatives. And I think this is one of the biggest complaints. Well, it's not really a complaint, but it's very heavy. Because it's very heavy, it's really hard to move around. Yes, you have these grips on the side to take it up, but it's still a big thing to carry around. Then the next thing are going to be these air purifier filter carbonized little thingies that plug in the back of the printer. Mine died after 2 weeks, and the time that it did work, it didn't help anything. The airflow on this thing was really weak. You can hardly feel the air pushing around these carbon filters. So the best thing you can do is put an adapter on the back and put a hose and vent it out, or do some internal filtering. Then next we have the bolts of the gantry that were all loose. I had to retighten everything because everything was loose. Not that it influenced my results, but I think that if you receive this printer, you should do a bolt check to see if everything is tight. Then I had some stepper motors after a few weeks, and these stepper motors were due to loose wiring down in the back. I made a video about it, I will link it down below. Then we have the VAT. The VAT is made of aluminium, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the paint comes off. If you take some paper and you rub over it, you will see some paint coming loose. Then we have the pouring spout right here in the corner. This corner spout doesn't do anything except for making a huge mess, and I think that removing the FEP, there are a bazillion bolts at the back to replace them, so you will be busy for quite a while replacing your FEP sheet. Now, one thing that annoys me by changing the VETs is these freaking screws. This is getting annoying really fast, unscrewing the VET and screwing them back in. Why didn't they come up with some better solutions? So I'm going to link to the STL so you can replace these annoying long bolts with the solution that they come up with on the ELEGOO forums. Then we have the build plate inside. The build plate is of nice and decent quality, but I think that the tightening system with the 4 bolts and 1 bolt in the middle is much to be desired. What I noticed is that if you tighten the bolt in the middle, you can play around with how much you tighten it, and depending on how much you tighten it, you change the bed leveling. So every time you take out the bed and you put it back in, you have the potential of ruining your bed level. And that's why I would recommend you to buy some flex plates. The flex plates, you just pull them off, you put on a new one, so buy 2 plates and you're good to go. Then we have some UV bleeding into the chamber. So where the gantry is, there are a few holes around it, and this thing is leaking UV into the chamber. Now, I didn't notice any problems with resin curing because it's leaking UV, but I think that's sloppy work and not very productive for the machine that there is UV light leaking into the chamber. Then we have the LEDs inside of here. The LEDs could be a bit brighter. Now, it's fine if you work in a dim place. I can dim my lights so I can see when I come in without having to open the door. But if you are in a place that is very well lit, then you will not see what's inside and you will have to open the door. And then the last thing of this printer, and I think this is just really bad designing, is that the Z-axis is fairly wobbly. Even though you are still printing on the 5 first layers, you can see 3 to 5 millimeters of wobble. That is just huge. So in my last video, I made a solution to fix the Z-wobble issues by printing some PLA, putting it into the Z-axis, and then screw some bolts from the top into the PLA, just fixing the Z-axis completely. Now, if you are planning to put on the Z extension, then I would say, don't hope on it, because this is already a big problem, and I think if you will starting to do some Z extensions, that the problem will be getting way worse than it really is right now. If you already have this printer, or if you are planning to buy this, link to the video down below on how to fix the Z-wobble issues of the ELEGOO Jupiter. Then let's talk about the positives. This thing is absolutely huge with its 12.8-inch screen that has a resolution of 6K. And you have about 27 centimeters by 15 centimeters and a Z height of 30. So you have a nice volume to print almost anything you want. I think that printing some full-scale helmets are not going to fit right on the printer, but I think except for that most things will just fit on this thing. Then you have some adjustable feet on every corner, so you can level the printer for the table it's sitting on. I haven't noticed anything negative with the printer tilting a little bit, but I think it's mainly so that the resin is nice and flat on your FEP. Then we have the auto resin feeding. While I didn't really use it because this vat can easily hold more of 1 liter of resin, I did test it, and there is a bottle cap that you can just take, you can twist it in, and the resin will start pouring out. But because this is a proprietary bottle cap, this will only fit on the ELEGOO bottles and I think the Anycubic bottles. But it does work, and if you have to do a lot of resin printing in one big volume and you need more than 1 liter, these things are amazing and they work. Next up we have the door. The door is nice and wide. This opens up 180 degrees, nice and easy to work on. Great design. The vat is big and sturdy. We have a large touchscreen on the front that works very well. The resolution of the touchscreen is just fine. Look at this little mini Pikachu. Then we have the fume exhaust. There is a fume exhaust at the back. I will share an STL to it, which I will be hooking up this flexible on my ventilation system, so everything that is going on inside is getting pulled out and thrown out into the open. Then we have the network port. I didn't test the network port. I think it's pointless. Just plug in a USB. You will have to be sitting next to it to make sure everything works okay. I don't prefer running this printer from a distance. Maybe that's something else for you, but I didn't test it, so I cannot help you with that. Then we have the things that I would like to see changed, or maybe for the next printer. Why don't they use included heating? This is something that I see in a lot of different printers, is that people have to rat rig something together to heat up the chamber. I think if you are at a certain price class, then things should start getting included. Like, why isn't there a built-in heater? Then the last thing I would like to see changed is that screens become more square. It's nice to have a large build plate, but if your build plate is longer than it is deep, then you are limited to the depth of your screen. If you have a square screen, then almost everything fits on it. So I think it would be nice to see some more printers that have square screens. And then the last thing, and that's a very important thing, tightening up the FEP sheet. If your sheet is too loose, then you will have the problems that the sheet will start coming up with the print and then holding on your object. And you want a nice and firm FEP sheet that releases more easily, because if the sheet started to stick on the object, you have a longer time of pulling on your objects, potentially breaking them. I have noticed that since this printer came out, I think it's almost about half a year that the first Kickstarter samples are coming in, and I think that the first printers that you can buy on pre-purchase are coming out this time, and there is still no FEP films. As far as I know, you cannot buy FEP films for this printer, so you have to contact ELEGOO or import them from outside of Europe, which is really expensive. Now, I have a little spoiler. The FEP solution is going to be solved, not by ELEGOO, but by somebody I am working closely with. And you will be able to buy some FEP sheets on a roll, so you can buy a very large quantity of FEP for not a lot of money. So if you are interested, subscribe to the channel, and I think the next month or so you will know what I'm talking about. Now it's conclusion time. Would I buy this printer again? I think, yeah. The basics are good, the screen is good, the packaging was great. I think the looks are awesome. If you take note on the few flaws it has, it's still a good product to do some resin printing in it. Because for the money you pay for it, I think it's now about 1100 euros. There are not many printers that go bigger than this one. So that's gonna be it for me. I really enjoyed this printer and the review of it. Comment down below if you are going to buy this printer, and if you bought this printer and you are just interested in what I'm doing, then please subscribe to the channel, give me a big thumbs up, and guys, I see you on the next one. Oh yeah, don't forget we have the FEP rolls, and it's not only for the Jupiter. Yeah, let's go!